With each passing year, it might become harder and harder for you to live within your means because even if you're being calculated with your spending, intentional, and you're making every effort to avoid lifestyle creep, life keeps getting expensive. But while so much can be out of your control, that doesn't mean that you should give up on at least attempting to live within your means. Because granted, things will not always go perfectly and some months might be better than others, but even so, keeping it as a goal and keeping it in the forefront can help you in the long run. So today we're looking at a few tips that can help you do this better. But before jumping in, don't forget to hit the like button for the algorithm and also subscribe if you like money topics and you want to see more videos like this. So the first thing you have to do is figure out how much you're currently spending on needs. And so that we're all on the same page, needs are expenses that aren't a choice. These are the ones that you have to pay every month and there's no way around it. And an example of needs can include your housing, utilities, insurance, food shopping, minimum debt payments, and for some people it might be daycare. So one of the first steps to living within your means is to completely understand how much you're spending on needs every single month. And it is important to have an actual accurate number, not an estimate. And that is key because I feel that estimating expenses is where a lot of people go wrong when it comes to their budget. To get a clear picture of how much you're spending on needs, you'll need to pull out your monthly statements or review your bank account statements, which can also provide an idea of how much you're spending on groceries, gas, and utilities. Now keep in mind, these three expenses can vary from month to month. So as you track spending in these areas, look at your average and then round up a bit to give yourself a little wiggle room. Once you do all of that and you know exactly how much you're spending on needs, take that number and divide it by your monthly take-home pay to figure out the percentage of your income that you're currently spending on needs. And this is also crucial because if your calculations reveal that you're currently spending 70% of your take-home pay on needs, that means that you only have 30% left for everything else. So in order to live within your means, anything else that you do with your money throughout that month, it has to stay within that 30%. But figuring out how much you're spending on needs is only the beginning, and the next thing you need to do is dedicate money for savings and debt repayment. Now, just because you have 30% left over does not mean you should spend it however you choose. Some people might take a look at their extra money and immediately start making plans. They might book more self-care appointments, plan more getaways, or start mindless spending. But before you do anything else, figure out how much of that 30% will go towards savings and debt repayment. Lack of a savings account and too much consumer debt are two huge barriers to financial health. And when some people live paycheck to paycheck or above their means, these are often contributing factors. A few months ago, someone left a comment saying that it took doing a no-spend month for them to realize that they weren't actually broke. So in other words, they had money to save, but they didn't realize it because they were overspending on wants, and because of that, they always felt broke. So my recommendation, and you can tweak this based on your circumstances, but from that 30% that you have left over, make sure you set aside at least 15% for savings and debt repayment. So if your take-home pay is $3,500 a month, that's $525 that you can use to either build your emergency fund or pay down debt. You should also make a plan for wants. Now, obviously, it doesn't have to be all work and no play. So if you're spending 70% of your take-home pay on needs and you're setting aside 15% for savings and debt repayment, that other 15% can go to wants or fun. And wants can encompass so much. It can include hair or nail appointments, eating out, subscription services, gym memberships, basically any other expense that you enjoy, but you can technically live without. And this is a hypothetical scenario. So a 70-15-15 split is only a recommendation. So if you have a lot of debt or if you're trying to boost your savings account faster, you might do something differently. Maybe set aside 20% for savings and debt repayment and only 10% for wants. Another thing you can do is use the envelope method for expenses in this category. Because if you keep money allocated for these expenses in your bank account and then you use a debit card or credit card to pay for them, you might swipe a little too much and overspend. But with the envelope method, you only spend the money that you put inside each one. So if you have an envelope for dining out and you set aside $20 a week for this expense, you will put that $20 in the envelope, and once it's gone, it's gone. Another thing that can really help you live within your means is to right size your house. And by this, I mean not having more space than your family actually needs. And this is something that I've mentioned before in an older video, but I think it's so important to reiterate because at some point, I think everyone needs to evaluate how much space their family actually needs and consider whether they're paying for space that they're not even using. And be honest with yourself. If you have 3, 4, or 5 people living in the home and you have 4,000 square feet, do you really need all of that space? And to be clear, there's nothing wrong with having a lot of space. If you're able to pay your mortgage, utilities, and repair costs with no issues, and you're still able to save, invest, or pay down debt, then you are living within your means. And if you want a bigger house, that's okay. However, the fact that you chose to watch this video today might indicate that there are some things that you're trying to work out financially. And if that is the case, it doesn't hurt to take a look at your housing and see if there's a way to save. And I understand that depending on where you live, it might not make sense to move. If you lived in your house for a while, smaller places might be more expensive. But before making that determination, I do recommend really researching your local area because even though moving doesn't make sense for everyone, it does make sense for some people. Housing is likely your biggest monthly expense, and if you could knock $300 off your monthly costs with a place that's still suitable for yourself or family, that's a decision that you probably won't regret. But of course, sometimes the only option is to increase your income because depending on your circumstances, what you're currently earning might not be enough. The unfortunate reality is that you can only downsize but so much, and you can only reduce your spending by so much. I've mentioned this before in several other videos, but frugal living tips and hacks to save money, they will only take you so far. So if you're in a position where your income is just not enough, it can't keep up, your only option really is to come up with a plan, whether it's a short-term plan or it's a long-term plan to increase your income. In the short term, it might include getting a part-time job and bringing in an additional $100 a week. For some people, that's enough. However, you might not always want to work a second job. So as far as the long-term plan, look into building your skills, or if you have a good idea for a side business or passive income stream, start researching today to see what you need to do to make it happen. There's no way to predict the future, and costs will likely continue to rise. So now's really the time to start putting things in motion so that you don't continue to fall behind financially. So that's all that I have for you guys today. Don't forget to like, comment, and share, and also subscribe if you like personal finance and you want to see more videos like this. I typically post on the weekends, so thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in a few days.